Okay. All right, I love that. There was a lot to respond to there, so let me try to take it one at a time. So first off, I love the idea that the government made the banks do the subprime mortgages, and golly gee, the government twisted the bank's arm, and they made billions upon billions of dollars. Oh man, don't make me make another billion. Don't make me make another billion. No, they did those. If they thought they were going to lose money off of it, they would have a fiduciary responsibility not to do it.
I agree.
Okay, it was, they were not forced to make billions of dollars. They were not forced to then have us bail them out. Right. They did all of that because there's legalized bribery in America.
Right, because the government was giving them money. Correct.
So now let me address that. You say, well, what's the difference between your speech and their speech? Mine is actually speech, and theirs is money. So there's a giant difference.
But you spend money on your speech.
First off, so they say, no, Supreme Court says, no, money is speech now. No, money is property. It's not speech. And so if money was speech, well, then if you go to a hooker and you say, oh, no, officer, I was just talking to her. Okay, money is not speech. So, for example, to give you a sense of it, to compare me saying I like Bernie Sanders and you saying whoever you like is the equivalent of this is obviously nonsensical. I believe it's obvious. So in a recent five-year period, the top 200 corporate givers, they both in donations and in lobbying spent $5.8 billion, okay? So that is not the same thing as me saying, hey, I like what Bernie's saying about college and Medicare. And when they did, why do you think they did? It was not because, hey, they genuinely like Bernie or Trump or Hillary. Because in return for that $5.8 billion, they got $4.4 trillion in government subsidies. So, which leads to, I actually think, the biggest point here, the difference between big government and small government. So a lot of times conservatives say, oh, you guys like big government. That's not true. So let me explain. If I ask you, hey, you got a plumbing job, what would you like, big pipes or small pipes? I don't know. What's the job we have? It depends. It's the same thing with the government. Okay, what size government would you like? I don't know. What's the job we have? So to say big government or small government doesn't make any sense. So, for example, do I want a big government that invades Iraq? Hell no, I don't. No way. And Ben, you were vociferously for the Iraq war, so in that sense, you loved big government. Couldn't get enough of it. And I could go on and on and on. Republicans say, no, we don't like big government, but we'd like to be inside your uterus. So just admit it. It's no problem. Just say it. Say I love big government. It's okay. So you're talking about when you like when you're rich and you want tax cuts. Oh no, I don't want big government. I want small government. But when it's convenient for you and you'd like oil subsidies and you'd like wars and you'd like to meddle in people's private lives, then you love big government.
Okay, so I need to respond to some of that.
This whole thing that Cenk is talking about, you know what? Oh, if we had a plumbing job and, they came over, I'd say, well, what size pipes do you need? Large ones? I don't know. What type of job is it? Well, then that's, it depends. And he applied the same thing to big government. So in certain things, you want big government, and other things you want small government. The point that he's trying to make is that it shouldn't be one size fits all. Now the question becomes who's going to decide? It always goes back to that point. Who's going to decide in terms of, what policies are going to partake with the big government? What policies are going to be with the small government? And is it just going to be like it is right now? Where certain things, the government comes in and basically some people feel it's an intrusion on your private life. And others feel that there's not enough intrusion into the private life. I mean, that's a question but now going to the money part of it, all that money, regardless of where it goes to, that huge piles of money, it's going to get favors and services and policies that you want, whether it's a big policy and big type government Or it could be a smaller policy because to each every individual that wants something to them, that's big. If you're working on a large project, that's important to you. If you're working on a small project, that's important to you. If you're getting money for a large project, that's important to you. If you're getting a small amount of money for your small project, that's important to you. So what Cenk is saying here, I mean, it's sort of like a circular argument. Okay, so what? Big government, small government. What we want is less government. That's, I think, the better question is, where can we have less government? Not big or small. Anyways, let's continue.
So,
definitely.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to point out that Cenk's big government, small government dichotomy was proposed by you, not by me. I talk about the proper scope of the government's involvement in particular areas the same way that you do, and we may disagree on all of that. My point is that overall, if you're talking about the level of government spending, it needs to go down, and you believe that it really needs to go up. Okay, so it's disingenuous.
It depends. Not on war, does it?
No, but overall...
Not on the war on drugs. Not on so many of those wasteful programs. It depends, but let me...
Overall, you want the federal budget increased. Overall, I would like the federal budget decreased. To pretend that this is not true is to lie. Okay, and when you suggest that there is no difference between, we just have different visions of what the government should cover, these things cost different things. Okay, the war in Iraq was very expensive. You know what's more expensive? Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. All of these are vastly more expensive than the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, as far as this, again, going back to this idea that, again, I don't like this big government dichotomy any more than you do, in the sense that you say, well, it's big government for the government to get inside people's wombs. And I say that it is the government's job to preserve life, liberty, and property, and one of those things is life.
Point right there to Ben. If he's saying the government, right? Cenk said, you want big government, you Republicans want big government. You want that big government to go inside that big old uterus or uteri, right? You want big government to be right inside there. Force that big government right into that uterus. And he just said, government job is for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Freedom, liberty, life. That's what the government job to do. Protection.
To protect you from someone else taking it. Okay? To protect you from someone else taking it. Now, when it comes to the idea that all money in politics is bad, again, I ask you, final question, final point on, we're going through 10 points at a time here, but final point here. When you say money in politics is bad, again, I ask you, Buddy Roemer gave you $4 million to start TYT. What did he expect in return? Should he not have given you money? Was the money not speech? It was just money, after all. It's just like a hooker, I assume. So are you the prostitute? How did this work?
Oh my God, check and mate, right? Cenk used the prostitute and hooker thing basically that, hey, money is not speech. If it was, hey, officer, I was just talking to her. That's all we were doing. I was just talking to her. I didn't give her any that money I gave her, that was just speech, baby. And then Ben comes right back and says what? We just got to go through that again, folks. Let's go right through that again. Let's hit that again.
Like the federal budget decreased. To pretend that this is not true is to lie. Okay, and when you suggest that there is no difference between, we just have different visions of what the government should cover, these things cost different things. Okay, the war in Iraq was very expensive. You know what's more expensive? Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. All of these are vastly more expensive than the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, as far as this, again, going back to this idea that, again, I don't like this big government dichotomy any more than you do, in the sense that you say, well, it's big government for the government to get inside people's wombs. And I say that it is the government's job to preserve life, liberty, and property, and one of those things is life. To protect you from someone else taking it. Okay? To protect you from someone else taking it. Now, when it comes to the idea that all money in politics is bad, again, I ask you, Final question, final point on, we're going through 10 points at a time here, but final point here. When you say money in politics is bad, again, I ask you, Buddy Roemer gave you $4 million to start TYT. What did he expect in return? Should he not have given you money? Was the money not speech? It was just money after all. It's just like a hooker, I assume. So are you the prostitute? How did this work?
Even this guy's laughing over it.
When you take money from Al Jazeera, does that make you a hooker for the Qataris? How does that work?
That was an awesome conflation. Okay, we were talking about money in politics and how money is not speech when you give it as a campaign donation, and you turn it around to a business investment. In a business investment, it has nothing to do with speech. Money is money. They gave us an investment, because they believed in our business. That has nothing to do with politics.
That's great. And you think the government is in the business of regulating business. So if the government is in the business of regulating business, what would be the problem with the government telling Buddy Roemer he is not allowed to invest in your business?
No, those are two different issues. No problem. No, one thing is to say, hey, let's set reasonable limitations on what can happen around elections, which is again what most developed Western countries do. So, and they have different versions of that rule. There's ads you can run, you can't run ads within a certain period of time. You have public financing versus private financing. Those are rules around an election. That is a completely different issue than the government saying randomly you can and you can't invest in businesses. Why? So you're conflating those two issues that have nothing to do with one another.
Why can't you?
So let's just
what does why mean?
Because it's
you believe in education, so why don't you believe in healthcare?
Because it's a free country, and I get to spend my money wherever I damn well please.
All right. So as we're coming to the close here, we're going to do one more.
I gotta ask him.
All right, we're just going to go ahead and finish that thing off right now. But again, Cenk the Jank, he be losing, he be cruising, he be getting the big bruising, the Cenkmeister. From tiny little Ben Shapiro. Who knew? From the Daily Wire, the Live Wire, Ben Shapiro. No BS here, folks. He went after him, and his whole thing was, whether you agree with him or not, he took that. I think that was probably the highlight statement of this debate so far, because Cenk thought that he was making such a great point about government and speech and money in politics. And it's like the hooker and the prostitute. Which one are you? Speech ain't money, right? He thought he just had a great one. And whether you feel that it was a real comparison of apples to apples, or it was a comparison of, apples to, dogs or cats or whatever, that's beside the point right now. The fact of the matter was, it was a very effective comeback on the part of Ben Shapiro. Basically, I don't think it was conflation. I think he basically was saying, okay, well, what would be wrong with the government coming back and saying, you know what? If you're going to invest money into a business, and that business is going to be talking about politics, well, guess what? As part of the election laws, we're not going to allow you to do that anymore. You want to invest money into a business that's apolitical, perfectly fine. But if that business starts to become political, forget about it. That's going to go against the election laws. So I think Ben's, comeback on this, the hooker and the prostitute, and that Ben Comer, giving him a $4 million investment to start the Young Turks, the Young Turks, is perfectly valid. And it just got, like in Scrabble, when you got triple word score or, 10 times word score, that's what this was, folks, big time word score. All right. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. That was part 4 of the POLITICON debates between Ben Shapiro and Cenk the Cenk Uygur. Folks, you've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Hit the notification bell. Share your thoughts below, your comments. Love to hear from you. My final thought is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.